Hi, and welcome to What is Analysis Excel video 4, basic formatting. In this video, we're going to look at how we can basically make our data look how we want it to. And we're going to look at all the options that we have available to us. We'll start with this option for the font and the size. What you can basically do with here is basically select just one cell and make it into whatever you want. Oh, also, if you double click on the edge of a cell and it gives you this particular symbol, not the arrow, but this one in particular, double click on it, and it'll basically auto fit, so everything on a cell is basically showing. So here you can basically adjust the font to whatever you want. The size of the font, let's say you want to make it something really big or really small. You can even adjust it yourself if you want, which will give some mixed results, but it's still doable. Okay. And you also have the option of bolding it, put it in italic, underlining it, or double underline. I don't see this used quite often, but it's up to you. The thing is, you can select to apply a rule to an entire column or the entire document if you want by clicking between the 1 and the 8 point. This will select the entire document. The only thing is, this will be still restricted to one sheet. Whatever you apply by selecting this to this will not be affected to the other sheets on your workbook. So let's say that we want to select everything into name and put in Algerian, let's say. Nice font. We like it for some reason. So basically, if there was just one cell that was already in italic or in one instance, you basically have to click on it twice for it to appear the right way. So here you have what it looks like in bold, in italic. You can combine all of them. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it though. So it's basically up to you. You can basically also increase the font to just one bigger and one smaller using the A characters instead of going directly and manipulating the points. It's up to you. I prefer to do it that way, but you can do it whatever way you fancy. Here, you can basically, let's say that you have a header and you want to format it into a particular color. It can be whatever. Let's say that we like brown for some reason, and we want it to, and this is going to be applied to the whole rest of the document. So what we can do here is, now we see that our text here is not really readable. So what we can do is that we can go into the A, and it'll basically modify it to the font color that we want. It can be red, black. I would advise against it. Whatever has the most contrast is basically the biggest winner, since you need your document to be readable. If it's not, then it's basically a pain and people will dismiss it quite faster. So this is how you can basically change the basic formatting. You can do it on a specific cell too. Like let's say this, or whatever color. You can change to whatever your needs are. You have the option of to format the cell a lot more. If you go into the option menu right here. So it's basically the same, but with a few effects, strike through, subscript, superscript. It's basically useful sometimes when you want to. It depends what you want to do exactly. And we'll look at the regular menu, how to do things, then we'll go into the details into what we can't really do with that. So that's basically it for here. Here you can basically put it back to whatever it was at the beginning. And there is a difference between white and no fill. No fill will basically, depending on the circumstance and if there's some style applied to it, will act completely different. This is just something so you know if you're basically trying to figure out why doesn't it work. So that's for basic. Now you have things like alignments that you can use. Let's say that you want to align the numbers so they are basically centered, and let's say that your cell here is a lot bigger since there's some text here or whatever reason there is. This the second line or whatever row has a huge amount of space, but you still want your one to be centered or to be at the bottom. Selecting these things will basically align it from top to bottom, and this will basically align it to center to bottom. What you want to do is, this is completely up to you. Double click it to be back to fit it exactly if you don't need it. And now there's also the option of indenting your content. So let's say that you have something is indented like ID. Basically, you have 1.1, 1.2, 1.2.1, and you basically want it to be even more easy to read. What you can do is basically select everything that's a subset of 1, indent it. Whatever is a subset of a subset, you indent it even more. You can do it however you want. This is the best way to do it, and it's more easier to manage than with just spaces or whatever. And you can select a huge amount of them to do it at once. If you were to push a spacebar, you would have to go into each individual one. So that's basically for the indent. Now we have basically the number formatting and the content formatting. The thing is, you can basically consider something to be a text, a number, or quite a few different things. This will be useful later on when you want to apply calculations. You need to apply it to numbers and not to text. Or sometimes you want to combine two cells, or you want to add two cells. If they're considered a number or as text, it's going to give you completely different results. So here, I'm going to give you an example. General, no specific format. This is what you get by default. Here, if it's considered a number, you can basically select the number of zeros that you want afterwards. This can be used if you're using scientific notation or and you want only the relevant number of zeros, or if you're going to do it in certain currency. Next, currency basically puts the dollar sign right next to the number. Accounting will leave space so it looks nicer if you have a huge amount of numbers, like so. What you use, it's really up to you. You can also have it assigned as time and date. This, well, basically if you apply a time format to a number, it'll look very, very weird. And vice versa. If you take a cell that's time and you try to add it, it basically has a certain value, like time 12 p.m. basically has a numeric value, and it's considered a certain way because of the inner working of Excel. So if you try to add this 12 a.m. to something else, it'll probably give you an error, or it'll give you the results that you don't really want. So be careful with how it's formatted. It'll save you a lot of frustration. You can also use percentage. This will basically take whatever. If it's number 2, it'll be 200%. If it's 1.5, it'll be 150%. This can be very useful for representing data, and it's going to be very useful when you're going to do pie charts and other things. Now for the rest, you basically have AutoSum and some basic formulas, but we're going to get into it more when we get to the formula section of it. And also we're going to find our place, sort and filter next video. Alright, thanks.